Hey guys, Momo's here with another New World video, and today we're going to go over another class build or character build kind of situation here. This one's going to be more of a shield and life magic person. This is going to be someone who can lay down the buffs and debuffs and sit there and either take a point or taunt a PvE expedition boss. It's one of those where you can kind of just sit there and take hits while other people do the majority of the damage. Or if you're taking the war aspect or outpost rush and that kind of stuff, we're gonna have to be taking points. This is gonna be a class where you can sit there and just take damage, block, and just buff yourself as well as buff your other teammates as well to defend against enemy attacks to take these points. So this class we're gonna go over is a sword and shield as well as a life magic class. Now this is a very I guess buff debuff kind of just sit there and take hits. It's not one that's going to be a lot of like crazy fun to play. However, if you're like that person that likes to just run in there, taunt the enemy, and go ahead and take hits, this is going to be the class for you. Which, I mean, myself, I used to be a tank in most games. However, New World, I just fell into the rapier and musket, and that's the only thing I played. So, unfortunately, this one I didn't play. However, I did have a couple friends that did play this and loved it a lot. So I'm going to bring this to you. Shout out to them for bringing this to my attention and showing me this class and how they built it so I can bring this to you guys. So there's two ways to build this as far as stats wise. Both of them actually went the opposite way. One person went full focus and had their gear do the constitution, and the other person did the full constitution and let their gear do the focus work. Majority of the reason of this is one person was mainly the tank while the other one was the buffer, but they were both ended up being like kind of the same role where they would both buff and heal as well as tanking there, so it just kind of worked out. So if you're planning on going full tank and not doing much of the buffs or debuffs, go ahead and put all your stats into the constitution. If you're going to be the person that's doing all the buffs and debuffs, put your stuff in focus. Again, if you're putting all your stuff into constitution, you're going to be the tank. If you're putting your stuff in the focus, majority of your stuff is going to be based around the buffing and the debuffs of the life staff. So you can either go full focus and have the gear offset with the constitution, or you can go full constitution and offset your gear with the focus. There is some pretty good gear early on that adds quite a bit to these skills. I know by level 20 or 25, I was already getting gear that had plus 14, plus 20 constitution, focus, intel, dexterity. If you get gear that does just one stat buff, usually it's a lot higher than the ones that do more than one. So keep your eye out for those stats, the focus of the constitution buffs on your gear, to help better out with this class. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and start with the sword. Now, again, for the most part, you're going to mainly choose the defender class just so that you can sit there and take hits. The only thing we did take in sword master was leaping strike, and that was to give you some mobility because the void orb or whatever it was for the ice gauntlet really caused some damage when you couldn't run away. Even though you were meant to sit there and take hits, sometimes you did have to get out of there, regroup with your team and all that kind of stuff. So having this extra movement helps out a lot. Other than that, the passes we have empowered stabs, so successfully heavy attacks grants you 30% in power for 5 seconds, which is pretty big. You can also tag team that, use that, and then go ahead and use the healing buff. Freeing justice, successfully hitting with a heavy attack causes you to lose all debuffs. Again, you can kind of tag team this, get the empower as well as debuff yourself. Again, leaping strike, leap 4 meters, sorry, and deal 135% weapon damage. Again, you're not really going for damage. This is either to get in or out of situations, to get around those kind of void wells that you really can't get away from. So this is getting that little extra move to get out of those. Final strike, if you hit a foe below 30% health, do 50% more damage. Again, we're not focusing on damage. However, it's nice to have something that does do damage. Cowardly punishment, if a leaping strike hits a target in the back, causes slow for 8 seconds. This is more of when people are kind of running away from you and you need to go ahead and try to chase them down. If you're at the end of the fight and there's not really needing for a tank, you can get this to cause a debuff or a CC ability onto an enemy so that your team can catch up and do the remaining damage. Now, again, a lot of the sword and shield is going to be based around the defender. So for the main part, you're going to go ahead and take shield rush immediately. This will be your first ability. So rush forward 5 meters while knocking back foes and dealing 125.4% weapon damage. You're going to take sturdy shield, grants an additional 15% physical armor. This just gives you a little bit more armor just to kind of take those hits again. If you're going to sit there and take hits, you're going to focus on the most of the fortify and adding more physical resistance, magic resistance, that kind of. Speaking of magic resistance, you do have elemental resistance, which reduces damage by all magic types by 10%. One with the shield, when you block with a shield, all shield skills recharge by 1%. This isn't much. Again, there's not much to go off of here. You're not going to be dealing a lot of attacks. You're going to be more of just taking hits. So a lot of these abilities around attacks doesn't really help out this build for this role that much. Improved rush. On a successful hit on all enemies within 5 meters, gain 10% weaken. This is the kind of, if you need to rush in, charge in and get the attention of that group, you can charge in with this, cause weaken so that your teammate can do damage while you go ahead and taunt and take hits. Defensive training, when you block an attack, gain 10% fortify for 5 seconds. This is going to be pretty big because you're going to be blocking attacks all day. If you're sitting there with your shield up, just take blocking attacks, this is going to be the one where you're going to really, I guess, utilize, because you're just going to sit there and take hits. High grip, stamina damage is reduced by 15% when blocking a ranged attack with a shield. This is to help out with the people with the bows and the muskets that are going to be shooting down on you if you're in war. The main part is just kind of resisting that stamina, because the more stamina you have or the less stamina that you use, the longer you can block for. Defiant stance, for 8 seconds, reduce the incoming base damage from attackers by 30%. Now you can have the taunt gem if you have a carnelian gem equipped in your sword. This ability causes a 6-second taunt to all enemies within 8 meters of you. This is more for the PvE because, again, taunting doesn't do too much in PvP, so just keep that in mind. Fortitude, while holding a sword, current and max health are increased by 10%. If your health is above 50% damage reduction, reduction increased by 20%. We're having trouble speaking today. Intimidating rush. This will be the last one on the shield rush. So on successful hit on all enemies within 5 meters of you are 30% slowed. Now this is, if you end up causing a little bit of chaos and people trying to leave, it's obviously harder for them to leave. And if they don't commit, they're actually going to do less, I guess, effective if they're trying to run away while slowed than sitting there just at least trying to do damage to you. So it's kind of, it's to help that when people try to run away. Recuperation, all incoming healing and regeneration is increased by 10%. And with the life staff, you're also going to be healing yourself, or if you have another friend that's doing this, or you have a healer, this will also buff you as well. Restoration, gain 15% of your max health when Defiant Stance ends. So pop the Defiant Stance first, get that extra buff there, and then go ahead and use your abilities and just, again, sit there and take hits. Defensive Formation, when blocking, reduce damage to all allies within 2 meters by 30%. This is going to be very, very big for taking points. We're going to have 5 or 6 people, maybe even up 10 on a war situation, sitting there on a point together. If you're sitting there and all in one kind of like little ball, this is going to help out a lot. You definitely want to focus on this because this is going to help out anyone within 2 meters of you, which is about the whole circle. Just kind of stand in the middle. You're going to buff all your teammates as well. So that's it for the sword and shield. We're now going to move on to the life staff. This is where you're going to get most of your buffs as far as healing. So you can see here we did take things from both sides. Again, we're building around buffing and debuffing and healing just so that you can survive in that section, whether you're holding a point or sitting there taking hits from a boss. You want to be able to buff yourself to survive longer. Absolved, this is probably one of the easiest. This does give you a little bit more ranged attack abilities too, because the light stats, light and heavy attacks no longer take mana. So you can at least use that mana onto your abilities instead. Sacred Ground, this is one of the big healing buffs. So create an area on the ground that lasts for 15 seconds and heals 20% of weapon damage every second. Desperate Speed, when you heal an ally with less than 50% health, life staff's ability cooldowns are reduced by 10%. Holy Ground, regenerate stamina and mana 100% faster while on Sacred Ground. So it's going to be able to regenerate your stuff while you're sitting there taking damage and taking stamina damage. This is going to help out with that situation while you buff yourself. Splash of Light, you and all group members within 100 meters are healed for 50% weapon damage. This comes in more handy with PvE and expeditions when you're taking hits from a boss. However, it does help with some situations if you're well coordinated with your team and you're all sticking together. This can also help in those situations as well. Blessed, while enemies are in Sacred Ground, while allies are in Sacred Ground, they are healed 50% more from all healing. So you can go ahead and pop the Blessed and Sacred Ground, and then go ahead and pop the Splash of Light, and they get a higher healing. Enchanted Justice. When hit in battle, activate a healing aura for you and nearby enemies in a 4-meter radius, healing for 10% weapon damage for each second for 6 seconds. Again, 6 seconds is pretty long for a healing ability or any ability period, so it's pretty big. Shared Recovery. If you heal a target below 50% health, gain 3% of your max mana yourself. So this is going to kind of help if you're kind of focusing more on the healing aspect rather than the tanking aspect. But with the healing part, we didn't have much to kind of flex to put stuff into. So it's kind of one of those like little bonus things. And you also will get Purify, which Splash Light also removes 1 debuff. So you do need that before that. And getting less debuffs when you're sitting there in a mass war 50 on 50 where people are just debuffing and buffing and debuffing. It helps out a lot when you're sitting there on a point. Sacred Protection. While holding a life staff, increase the base health of all friendlies in your group by 10%. Again, you're not going to be using this much. This is going to be more for the PvE aspect. However, it can help in some war situations. Divine Blessing. When you heal an ally, if their health is below 50%, heal for 30% more. So this is going to give you a ton more healing abilities, especially with Sacred Ground and Splash of Light. So now onto the Protector side of the tree. We're going to have Bend Light. After a dodge, your heals are 20% more effective. This is going to work mainly. You can just kind of just immediately dodge and then cause your ability. One of those simple things like the musket where you can aim down sights for 3 seconds and get like 25% more damage. If you're initiating a fight and you're just going to do this, it's just going to be a lot better. It's a pretty easy thing to go ahead and just cause a buff for yourself. Orb of Protection. Shoot out a light projectile that grants 15% Fortify for 20 seconds. Heals an ally for 10% of weapon damage and deals 146% of weapon damage when it hits an enemy. So this is going to heal yourself while doing damage to the enemies. Protector's Blessing. If an Orb of Protection hits an ally, they gain recovery for 10 seconds. Recovery heals for 7.5% weapon damage every second. Protector's Touch. Life staffs, light and heavy attacks grant 15% Fortify for 3 seconds when hitting an enemy. So that can kind of just fortify yourself. Just basically buffing yourself for attacking somebody else. Shared Protection. If you successfully heal an ally with an Orb of Protection, you also gain Fortify and Recovery yourself. So you're not only buffing yourself initially, you're also rebuffing yourself when the attack or the ability lands. So you're going to heal yourself from the Orb Protection, and you're also going to get the Shared Protection as well. Protector Strength. If you have a buff, heal for 10% more. Pretty simple, easy. Again, you're going to initially put your abilities down, then run in with your shield and take some hits. Put your abilities down, sit there with the shield and take some hits. That's basically what you're going to be going with this build. This is more built for tanking rather than anything else. Aegis. When this projectile hits, it affects all allies within a 3-meter radius. And the last ability is Glowing Focus. Buffs you grant last 20% longer. Now, thank you for watching this little walkthrough. Again, basically this class is based around taking hits on a PvE or expedition during a boss, being able to taunt the boss, taunt the enemies, and just sitting there taking hits while you buff yourself, while your friends also buff yourself. This class is purely based around just tanking and just essentially soaking up damage. You see a lot of these abilities are stacked around buffs and debuffs, as well as Fortify, and also healing as well. So basically you're going to be putting your abilities down to heal, as well as just sitting there with your shield, taking some hits, taunting the enemy, whether it's a boss, some players, anything like that, and just really stacking your abilities to, I guess, fortify and buff yourself for heals, because the more damage that you can take is the better off of a tank, and someone who's going to be pulling the expedition boss is going to be a lot more effective that way. So that's basically what this is. If you like that playstyle, this is what's going to really best work for you. I didn't try this out. However, a couple of my viewers and a couple people I did play with ran these, and they that's the role that they like. They like playing a tank that just takes hits. If this is for you, go ahead and try it. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Goodbye. Deuces.